Is it on? It's on. I gotta make something. You'll hear me say that for a while until finally I get the round to it and I make it. This is my fuzzy sweater. I'm wearing my fuzzy sweater because I was sitting here in a tank top and underwear and realized I should probably put some clothing on before I do the video. Might get a few more viewers if I didn't, but you know, might get a few fewer viewers if I didn't. Yeah. So first subject, food problems. I used to be a nutritional counselor. That was something I did for many, many years. One of the most common things is the doctor just told me I'm allergic to, intolerant to, I can't eat. What do I do? My standard advice has always been change your cuisine. It's a lot easier to go from eating Midwest standard to eating curries because you don't know what the curry is supposed to taste like. Or switching to Thai food, or switching to American Chinese food, or switching to barbecue, or switching to Japanese food, or switching to Mexican food. It doesn't matter what the cuisine is. Whatever you've been eating, your mind has predetermined flavor sets. This is what it's supposed to taste like. And as much as I enjoyed the gluten-free gnocchi this last week, it's not frickin' gnocchi. It's just not. Okay, it's gluten-free gnocchi, and for gluten-free gnocchi, it's really good. But for gnocchi, it's shitty. Just shitty. Change the cuisine. When I first started having problems many, many years ago, I switched over to Indian food. When the husband first started having problems, we switched to Japanese food. That did not work well because he knew what Japanese food was supposed to taste like. We switched to Thai food. That worked. When I got the celiac diagnosis a few years back, I started cooking a whole bunch of Ethiopian food because it was one of the few cuisines I hadn't mastered, or at least gotten journeyman quality level at cooking. Switch cuisines for a while because you can't. Okay, macaroni and cheese. I love me some macaroni and cheese. I can eat macaroni and cheese 1,000 different ways. Gluten-free is not one of them. Gluten-free macaroni and cheese is an abomination unto God. But you know what? If you take some good zucchini and you chop it up into macaroni-sized pieces, and then you put a pot of water on to boil, you make your cheese sauce. You take that zucchini and you dip it in that pot of water until it's almost starting to might be cooked. Take it out, rinse it really, really well. Rinse it really, really well. Stop the cooking process. Then take some butter in a frying pan, dump that zucchini in with some garlic, toss it around a little bit to get hot, put the cheese sauce on top, stir it up. That'll pattern matches macaroni better than gluten-free macaroni pattern matches. Okay, I still will take the gluten hit to go eat some macaroni and cheese. Change your cuisine. If you get told you're allergic to the nightshades, don't eat Mexican food. It'll never be right. Don't eat indigenous food. It'll never be right. If you get told you're allergic to your celiacs, switch to an Asian diet for a while. That's my advice on food problems. Other food problems, I'm a recovering anorexic. I can tell you all the wrong ways to do things. You don't want my advice on some of this stuff. We're going to go with that. I have a friend who, my stomach is trying to die gastroparesis, and I have a friend with gastroparesis, and they're like, what do you think I should do? And I'm like, I can't answer that because the answer is not healthy. It's not even sane. Yeah. Okay. Next one. So I read these to myself over because I've got this whole list from before. And there's only a couple that haven't been touched on yet. And there's others that need to be further expanded upon. Foods that I hate, as long as we're on the food theme. I can't eat cabbages. I'm so thankful for that fact. Cabbage is disgusting. Brussels sprouts, when they're rough chopped and pan fried in bacon grease, are okay. But green cabbage? I want to know what starving peasant at the end of the famine ate sauerkraut on a dare. Who was the first person to eat this? We know from archaeology that Iron Age, they ate beer, bread, and grains. Which means somebody, if you've ever made bread, if you've ever made sourdough, you know what the kvass is, the liquid that floats to the top. Somebody left a batch of bread long enough to turn into beer and then drank it on a bet. Had to have been on a dare. Beer is one of those things you have to develop a taste for. I never developed a taste for it. It's gross. I don't like beers. The first person to eat that. That's what I want to know. Things that I don't like. If you put on a plate that I would not eat, even though I could, most of it, if I have to, if I'm in a social situation where it's important, I can put it in my mouth and swallow. And I can do it with a smile while talking, and you won't even notice. But I don't like cabbages. I don't like beer. I can drink it. I don't like wine. It gives me a migraine. That I'll say no to. I'm allergic to or intolerant of so many foods that it's hard to come up with things that I just really don't like. I don't like 1970s goulash. Macaroni, noodles, hamburger, some tomato, manwich sauce, and whatever else people put into it. That's just disgusting. I can eat it. Ate spider once. It tasted like shrimp-ish. Ate grasshoppers. They tasted like greasy green shrimp. Not something I want to eat again. I don't know that I could willingly and deliberately eat mealworms that look like mealworms again. Mealworm flour? Sure, don't tell me what it is. Tell me what it is, maybe not. It was gross. It had a flavor that was disgusting. Standard foods in the grocery store. The husband loves beets. I'll take a bite or two. I have a gag reflex that develops to the peach flavor. I love the flavor for the first bite or two, but after a couple of bites I have a reflexive gag reaction. It's foods I don't like. I'm not saying that I like everything, because I'm a really finicky eater. I'm saying that I'm practical about it. Will I eat it? Yeah, if it's what's there. Do I want to eat it? No. I want to eat macaroni and cheese. Recovering anorexic, OCD, I tend to fixate on 5 food items until I'm having problems from them. Kind of like that's probably 20% of my diet, to the point where I get hot flashes off of the niacin. I don't have anything else to say on that one right now. Let's see. Story about the blue crocheted blanket. Okay. So, when the kid was a baby, somebody gave me a giant bag of yarn. And included in that giant bag of yarn was about 10 skeins of this blue-gray variegated yarn. It was blue to brown, but it was this gray to mud color. And on each of those skeins was a pattern for making a blanket. I don't read crochet. I don't read patterns. But I can look at the photo and figure it out. So I crocheted the blanket. And it turned out okay. Had a few missed stitches, but it turned out okay. Hubby and I get together. We move from the first place to the second place. We get to Everett. and I pull the blanket out of a box and I go, oh, there's my blanket. He goes, that's my blanket. I'm like, no, I crocheted this for David. He goes, no, my grandmother crocheted that for me when I was in college. No, I crocheted this for David. It's mine. Whatever. Wasn't worth fighting about. I know where it came from. We move to Pennsylvania. Hey, there's the blanket. We move back to Washington. Hey, there's the blanket. When we came back to Washington, we had all of our belongings, we didn't have that much stuff then, in the apartment. And at one point I opened up a box and went, hey, there's the blue, wait a minute. The blue blanket's over on the couch. What's this blue blanket? 2. Identical, almost, blue blankets. The difference being one had a border crocheted on. I never crocheted a border on it. I took both blue blankets, equally worn, which means one was out of a box, the other was out of a box. One was out of a box, the other was equally worn. Almost identical. Blue blankets. Husband comes home, he was deployed at the time, comes home a couple months later and is like, check it out. He's like, oh hey, you found my blue blanket. It's like, I crocheted that blanket. No, my grandmother crocheted this blanket. We had this conversation. I was like, take a second look. And he realized there were 2 blue blankets, and he sat there on the couch just dumbfounded. He goes, how do you tell them apart? And I was like, see how this one's got a border in the same color? And he's like, oh, it does. I'm like, yeah, I wasn't good enough to crochet a border back then. That one's your blue blanket. This one's David's blue blanket. Oh. Yeah, we had 2 blue blankets for 20 years of marriage and didn't know it. That's the blue blanket story, about how much stuff we tend to have, and how if he had one, I had one, and we were really, really, really making progress on getting rid of stuff when 2013 to 2015 happened, and 5 different people gave us their life's belongings, and it's all sitting in storage, driving me nuts. It's a weight. Anyway, I'm so enthused tonight, you can tell. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.